Good afternoon, this is Scorpiara. Today this is a shorter video and I was going to concentrate on what it feels like to have an autistic meltdown. So there's lots of different terminology about. There is the shutdown, the meltdown, the burnout. They all have similar events that can happen, and it also depends on the individual. So I'm talking about what it feels like from my experience as a grown adult. I didn't get diagnosed till I was about 40, so about 5 years ago. But looking back, even though I didn't know at the time that it was autism, I was labelled a drama queen when it happened. I can reflect back on these episodes that happened to me, and you can see the difference between trying to get a reaction, trying to manipulate people, and when it is a genuine, actual autistic reaction. So there is meltdowns, there's burnouts, and a shutdown. I'm going to concentrate on, which one is it? The meltdown. This is the one that I used to have more of in the past, and it occasionally can happen. It's an intensity of an emotional reaction to external events that have built up, as well as internal stuff that's going off in my mind, but it's mostly created by the external events. It's things that I feel I have no control over. So in normal day-to-day life, I feel I have a certain amount of control over how I feel inside, but the outside world I can't control. So when I was younger, I would just avoid anything that could trigger any kind of the meltdowns, burnout, what have you, because I knew I was prone to them, and it didn't seem like the sort of thing that other people seemed to get, but I definitely did, and it was generally frowned upon, you know. What would initially bring on these events would be reactions to the environment, because I have sensory processing disorder, which is very common amongst people with autism. Not just people with autism, but it's a very common sort of symptom. And the sensory processing is so different individual to individual. With me, there's things I avoid. Sunshine, it's very harsh. I used to say it's just like a laser beam targeting me in the sky. It's too bright. Temperature's too warm. I just want the shade, a breeze, and to hide from it. Loud noises, especially if they're unexpected sirens, I have to put my hands over my ears when I go past. If I'm carrying something, it has to go on the ground. I have to cover my ears. It hurts. It actually hurts me. Any horns beeping, and if I'm not ready for it, I will freak out. My whole body will have a absolute freak out if I'm not ready. Someone beeps the horn and I just didn't see it coming. It was out of the blue. It's very painful, nerve-wracking thing in my body. They don't need to be that loud. So you get in these sensory impulses and you can cope with them to a degree. You breathe through it, but after a while it's just one after the other after another, and your energy preserves to keep yourself going gets sapped the more you're getting the sensory input that is unpleasant. And if you're getting a lot of random people talking at you in different directions and there's nothing you can coherently focus in on, there's clanking, busy restaurants, there's lots of overwhelming smells, people asking you questions and expecting you to answer quickly whilst you're trying to process everything else that's going on. It's like a computer with so many windows open, it just goes, no. So a meltdown would happen more often when I was younger, and all this energy comes in and I just want to expel it back out. I want it to stop. Now, if there is somewhere I can communicate saying, is this all too much for me? Can I go somewhere quiet to calm down, somewhere cool, where people aren't going to look at me and watch me and judge me? I'm not trying to have a tantrum or manipulate or be a drama queen. I don't want anyone to see me go through this. I've been trying to pretend to be normal and mask it for far too long. So the normal feelings that come up that people with anxiety would definitely recognise is a fight or flight. So I don't tend to get the angriness that I have on occasion where you just want to push back, people getting in your face. You just like, can leave me alone, let me get. If I can't get out of the space and people constantly in my way, I feel like they're doing it on purpose. Anger will build up to a degree, but majority of the time it's flight. It's get out of there. And I might seem rude. My face will just go blank, and I'm just like, I need out. How do I get outside? Is there a spare room? Can people stop asking me questions? Can I put headphones on? So already I'm looking for ways of coping. If that's not forthcoming, the meltdown will happen, and I'll feel it rising like a bubble inside me, and the tears will start. Now this is a bit of a vicious circle, because I don't want the tears to start, so I'm starting to get upset with myself now, which brings on more tears. And I don't want the tears, so more tears will come. People start noticing, well, why are you crying? What's up? They can't see what is something actually. Has someone hurt you? No. Is someone upset you said anything wrong? No. Why are you crying? Is something? Are you upset about something in your life? No. None of it makes sense. So, so you just crying for the sake of crying, and it's like, well, it might be. And then I'm like, I actually can't answer your questions, and then you need to be left alone. So you can't communicate. I lose my words, and then you feel like you have to reassure the other person, I'm okay, I know how to look after me, I just need to go somewhere to be on my own. But then they're getting like, feeling like you're being stroppy with them when you just like, haha. I had this when I was sat in a restaurant, and I was on my own, and I was having a nice evening, and they were about to close, and I was just trying to think ahead. I had an hour before, I had an improv, I love improv, and it's cold outside. I'm like, I just want to chill somewhere and read my book for an hour before it starts. So this place closed at 5, the place is 5 minutes away, and the other place opens at 6. And the woman's coming to me and saying, I'm afraid we're going to close. So I'm like frustrated. I'm thinking through the processes. Where can I go? What can I do? I got an hour. I don't want to go all the way home to go back out again. And I'm just trying to think. And she's just like checking in on me. And my face is like, are you okay? Are you? And she's getting on. And the place is actually, they're trying to busy up, closing down. And there's cutlery clanking and things going on. And I just feel this frustration in me. I'm just like, I just need to be left alone. And I can't find any words. And then I had to reassure her. She's like, have I upset you? Have I done something? And I'm like, no, it's fine. It just seemed I was being so rude, and I didn't want to be. I just needed to think very quickly. Because I can't handle it as I'm older. The heat used to bother me. Now the cold bothers me. So I'm trying to think of the next place to go to. And that's where the problem is. If I'm having to reassure, make people feel better, whilst I've got this emotional thing going off, it's taking more energy, preserves away from me to just cope. So quite often I'll just probably just stand up and I'll walk off. I'll just leave. I'll just walk until I find a cool, quiet place with no people. And then I can let my guard down. I can let all the emotions out, because it's like energy. You can't hold on to it because it builds and it turns funny, and you'll stew over it and overthink the situation later. So I just forgive myself and I just cry it out. When I was younger, I didn't know that this was a way of coping, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. So I would more lash out there'd be tantrums, I'd be frustrated, people would be crowding around me more, what's wrong with you? In the most, coming from a really good place, trying to help me. I understood that, but it did the opposite, and I couldn't find the words to communicate, to say, actually, please leave me alone. So I was labelled as this little drama queen when I was younger, almost to the point where it got amusing for people to try and trigger me. You know, she'll cry, she'll stomp her feet, you know, let's just go round her, crowd round her and say stuff. And yeah, kids can be mean, can't they, for their own entertainment. But even adults, because they didn't see autism, especially in girls back in like the 80s and 90s, would want to overly fuss, and when you don't feel better from what they try to do, you know, pattern you or whatever, they almost get like defensive, like, well, you know, I'm being nice to you and you're still carrying on crying, what is it you're supposed to want? This is definitely attention seeking, even though I'm giving you attention, and that's not making it any better. And then this drive to reassure people, to be like, okay, I'm okay, I'll make sure you're okay because you've tried to make me okay, because I feel and read people's emotions so strongly. I'm just not very good at showing that I do. The meltdown feels like a tornado or waves that are coming over you again and again. I feel it in the stomach and it wells up into my throat, and then it's around the face and it's hot and I'm starting to cry. I cannot stop it. I cannot stop it. The more I try to stop it, the more it's going to happen. And it's a storm coming in and I've got to let it pass through. And if I could just, now I carry a card, words that I just want a safe space. I'm fully capable of making sure I'm alright. I just need to feel I have the permission to go and do that. Then definitely needs to be a lot more awareness about autism, especially in adults and in women, because we don't just grow up and it goes away. We either learn coping mechanisms, just be comfortable being ourselves, spread self-awareness, or worse, we hide it and try to pretend to be fitting into normal society. And I don't think anyone feels like they fit in normal society. Anybody, we're all got stuff going on. So yeah, that's the meltdown. It's a bit of a haphazard explanation, but this is how I approach things. I could have scripted this video, but sometimes I just want to just blare. This is, my brain's like a grasshopper. It goes to an idea and it hops over here and there leapfrogs all over the place, and I'll just, yeah, I could just do with more order in my brain, but that's not who I naturally am. So yeah, meltdown. Just imagine someone completely, it is like your face, you're hot, and water is dripping down your face. It's not pretty, what's coming out your nose, it's just, you're shaking. And afterwards, there's a kind of relief, but you're totally exhausted. You're totally exhausted. You've just been a volcano that just spewed everything out. There's no anger, there's no bad intentions to anybody. There's probably some you turn on yourself, but it's just a process that just happens. There's too much input coming in and you're struggling to communicate or get to a place to cool it, calm it down, balance out everything out again. So yeah, that's a meltdown. And I've seen children with meltdowns, and I can tell the difference between that and a tantrum. A tantrum is controlled to a degree. There's more anger behind it. There's an intention, a manipulation, and a certain outcome. And attention seeking, definitely. With a meltdown, the person is, apart from just a feeling of peace, they're not after anything. it isn't a reaction to being told no, unless it's, can I go somewhere quiet, and then someone says no. So yeah, I guess a bit of manipulation could go off in there, a bit of a tantrum, mixed with a meltdown, that could happen. And you don't want people watching. You don't know when it's going to end, and you're exhausted, and getting a certain outcome doesn't guarantee suddenly happy again. Like if a child has a tantrum and gets the toy after having an outburst, they're suddenly like, oh, I'm happy and good. Whilst at the end of a meltdown, you'll just have this shell of a person. You know, even if they got the peaceful place, eventually you just got a shell of a person. So yeah, you can't coerce a person in a meltdown. The best thing to do is just see if the person can communicate yes or no with simple like, would you like my help? Yes, no. Is there something I can get you or take you to? You know, if the person says, you know, don't need help, leave them alone. Absolutely leave them alone. Keep interactions minimal. Don't expect any reassurance. Don't take it personally. It really isn't personal, because the person's probably beating themselves on the inside that they're not interacting with you very well, and you're seeing them in such a raw emotional state. So you know, don't it's not a reflection on you yourself at all. It's actually nothing to do with you. It's just the environment, and you just happen to be a witness to it. If you don't feel like helping, that's fine. It depends obviously on the age. If you see if it's a young child, you know, if you can see if there's some kind of parent or guardian around and they noticing it, you know, you don't need to be involved. Don't stare, don't comment, don't judge. You know, this child, I mean, if they're having a tantrum, don't give them attention anyway. So either way, you know, it's not that you walking on by and leaving them be does not mean that you don't care. You're just not adding any more drama to the situation. You know, I think you know in your gut instincts when you should really be involved. You know, I've been sat down sometimes and having an overwhelm, and I'll be sat on a bench somewhere. Someone will come up to me, he's like, are you okay? And in my heart I'm just like, that's awesome, the stranger cares. And I'll just be like, so like, you can walk on by now, leave me be, you know. But the thumbs up is a sort of like, cheers for checking in, because we need people like that. But yeah, leave me alone is probably the best thing. So I'm also going to do a video on an autistic shutdown and an autistic burnout, because they are different things and I have different reactions. Shutdowns, yes, I definitely had them as a child, and I do have. Burnout is the one thing I've experienced more as an adult. Meltdowns was when I was younger, because I was raw and I didn't understand. Burnout is what I experience now I'm older. But it is definitely linked to my autism. So thank you for watching this channel. I'm glad I've made this a shorter video, and if you have any questions on anything to do with autism, a diagnosis, or any of the other subjects that I'll be covering, please leave a message in the comments below, and I'll see what more I can do on my new channel. Okay. Ta-ta for now, and enjoy your bank holiday weekend.